Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7 says, Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Welcome to our perimenopause menopause discussion with Dr. Jamila Way.
Jamila Way has been in healthcare since 1995 when she began practice as a registered nurse after graduating from Advent Health University. In 2003, Jamila continued her education and experience base at the University of Florida, where she graduated with a Master of Science degree in nursing and became an advanced practice registered nurse in 2005. In 2014, her undying quest for academic and career excellence led her to begin pursuit of a doctorate in nursing practice with a focus on population health management and a minor in nursing education from the University of Missouri, Columbia, where she graduated in 2018. Jamila Way brings 30 years of experience working in pediatric critical care, case management, mental health, family practice, internal medicine, occupational health, urgent care, retail health, and telehealth to each of her patients. When she is not working or learning about health, Jamila loves spending time with her husband and her 4 children. She loves her involvement with community volunteering agencies, participating in book club, and cuddling with her family cats. Traveling is a new interest, and she is always working on her bucket list. Welcome, Dr. Jamila Way.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again, Chloe.
It's very good to see you again, too. And welcome, listeners, for part 2 of our conversation on menopause. So, Dr. Way enlightened us on many things about menopause, our last conversation, and we had 2 questions for discussion today. Our first question is, if you could change one thing about treatment of menopausal patients, what would it be?
Yeah, I want to thank you again for inviting me back because this is an important discussion. I think a lot of women just we maintain the idea that our sexuality is not important. And even in the phrasing of the question, you said treatment of menopause. Menopause is not an illness, it's just a phase of life. And I think that we are so hung up on the medical model that that's how we look at things. You know, we have to treat it instead of find a way to flow in the rhythm. I like to use, and I don't want to take us too far off topic, but I like to use the example of a wave. If you've ever been in the ocean and a big wave is coming at you, I don't know if you've tried to chop the wave or hit it or knock the wave over. You might discover you can't do that. But if you ride the wave, your head stays above water and you don't feel like you're drowning. I think that menopause would really benefit from, I really believe like the honest approach to womanhood. Women are not, just like pregnancy isn't an illness, menopause isn't an illness. And I feel like when children are babies, we take them for evaluation like at 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. That's because there are a lot of changes. We expect that, we should see them pulling up their head and turning over and sucking and doing things. And it allows us early intervention if something goes wrong. I believe that menopause should be treated more like a developmental change for women, which is what it is.
Okay.
And as you know, I don't work in just women's health, but I've never been able to set aside a visit that's just for menopause management, menopause care and education. If I could change something that I think would make a big difference in our world, would be just like how we take young parents aside and give them preventative guidance, talk to them about all the things that are important to being a parent. Why don't we have that for women entering menopause?
Mm,
Um, alerting women to how that changes our sexuality, how it changes our body, how it changes our mind, our joints, all the things we talked about before. And also giving us really workable solutions or strategies for being able to embrace our new selves because we just are constantly changing. And I think that there should be guidance. And I know that our medical model isn't really set up for that.
okay, okay. Thank you. Well, I tell you, I would definitely love to have a doctor like you to come and talk to. It's it's great when you have someone who can focus on your situation and they have some history. They already know what it's like to go through it themselves, and they have compassion. Sometimes I don't believe I believe that male doctors can have compassion, but they don't. They definitely don't know what it's like to go through it themselves. So,
Yeah, that does make a difference. I think it's also some onus on us, and I can appreciate that we're different in different situations. Like I might be willing to speak in this situation, but then in another one I might not. But it's also very helpful if when we go, we force our provider to slow down. Wait,
mm,
how does this affect my sexuality? I've not been really enjoying, this part of my body. Is this something that, is there anything I can do about it? And I think sadly, we're just not given a lot of education. Like the regular medical model, it doesn't really necessarily pay, which is why it behooves us to do our own reading and discussing with
okay.
others.
Thank you for sharing that. Our next question is: who has been the biggest influence on your work and why?
So the fact that you said biggest means it has to be one. So I'll name one, but I really have more than one.
Okay.
Um, the biggest influence would have to be my grandmother, and she wasn't. I don't, to my knowledge, she wasn't in the medical field, although I believe she might have been a nurse in her country of origin, but she wasn't when I was living. Well, she was living with me when we were living, contemporaries. Um, she was my primary influence because I found that she approached all things with a real pure heart. I respect the fact that when she did it, even if she was tired, she was going to be honest and she was going to do her best and she was going to treat the people, whoever, whatever she was doing as a human being, whatever task, whether it was cleaning a toilet, cooking a special cake, um, bandaging a wound. She did it I really think she did it as to the glory of God. I can't tell you what was in her mind, but watching her, it made me pleased to share genetics with her.
Mm, that's powerful. That's a blessing. That's a
The other
blessing.
person, it definitely is. The other person is in the healthcare field. When I was working on my master's degree, I had the opportunity of doing a training at NAS Jax, Naval Air Station Jacksonville, and I got connected, and I'm not sure why I ended up with Mrs. Benita Ford, but she was an African American nurse practitioner, and she was the only civilian in the practice. All the other providers were captains or lieutenants, and I just respect the fact that she respected herself enough to maintain a really professional boundary. How to explain it? Like the active duty people, you always refer to them based on their rank. You can't just say Leffelman or Lewis. You have to say Captain Lewis, Commander Leffelman, whatever the title is. And here she was now a civilian, and she was not ranked. So she used her title at the time. It was Mrs. So she introduced herself as Mrs. Ford, which may sound like a small thing, but I find that even though you do go through and you get advanced education as a nurse practitioner, it's oftentimes just still classed as a nurse, which is a noble profession. You need to hear that. But the role is very different. And I think that it's a disservice to patients not to make the distinction. And that really influenced me. I like the fact that she always introduced herself to her patients as Mrs. Ford, and she was extremely compassionate and very respectful and also very skilled. And it's been over 20 years and I still have, followed her lead in that.
That's cool. Well, thank you for sharing those experiences. All right, so how can our listeners connect with you if they want more information?
Well, I'm happy to accept emails and we can communicate that way. I will admit that I don't know everything, but I'm really happy to share and have conversations. So my email address is jwayaway@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Dr. Way, and thank you, listeners. And we hope to see you again when we have another discussion with Dr. Jamila Way. Thanks and happy learning.
This podcast was sponsored by More Than One Way Math Academy, LLC.
Hi, I'm Cloretta Lewis with More Than One Way Math Academy, LLC, where I teach math by learning style. My tutoring offer includes one 4-week program, which includes meeting once weekly for 50 minutes via Zoom, a free learning style test, a grade-based assessment, a video teaching series, office hours, which includes one meeting weekly to answer email questions with answers received within 24 hours, and to have a profile established on iexcel.com with access to thousands of practice questions. Normally priced at $197 monthly, we have a special price of $50 monthly, due by the 1st of each month. Cash App me at More Than One Way Math or pay through my website at www.clorettalewis.com/learning modules. Contact me now and we can solve your math problems ASAP at 816-510-0217. Working days, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Make math fun again. I will help you all the way. I can help with these subjects: basic math for elementary, middle, or high schoolers, pre-algebra, algebra 1, college algebra, and financial literacy. I can also help with upcoming interest and proficiency exams. Thanks and happy learning.